All right. I want everybody to picture this. Imagine you're 63 years old, you're Grandmaster, people are calling you washed. You enter an open tournament at the seventh seed, and then you score 7.5 out of 9, proceeding to win without a single loss. Well, that just happened to someone named Aleksa Strikovic. He's from the same country as that dude. He's from the same country as this dude's parents and relatives. And yeah, it's a good country. And he's a good chess player. So he scored 7.5 out of 9. He's around 2380 FIDE. I think his peak was 2530. He was the Yugoslavian chess champion in the year 1991. He's won many open tournaments. I think his last one was in like 2017, which was still a flex. But I mean, this is the thing. So chess has been taken over by the younger generation, as all of you know. I saw a couple of days ago this 3-year-old played in a chess tournament. Like, what are we doing? But a lot of the time, the older generation is then shadowed or forgotten about, or people think they're washed. And that is just not the case. I mean, I think that life over time beats a lot of people down. You know, that day to day of just everything you got to deal with, and then just sadness and life and blah blah blah. But some people can remain happy at an old age and not lose the joy or the love for learning, and then it's like they have a young spirit, and they can win tournaments like this guy. So that is a beautiful thing, and that is what we're going to be showcasing today. So this is going to be one of his, I don't want to say one of his best games. This is going to be a great game he played in the year 1991, where he destroyed another GM with the name Zlatko Ilinic. Now, we're also after this game, sorry for the long intro, we're going to be looking at a positional puzzle with a bunch of positional motifs that will hopefully help you handle activity in the endgame. Let's get into it. Okay, e4, c5. We get a Sicilian. Strikovic is playing white. We get d3. So probably not going to be heavily theoretical, but that is what we like, right? Okay, a very flexible opening. White is playing in that Grand Prix type of pawn formation, but he has not committed his knight to c3, which means maybe it will go to d2. Black is playing more in like a compact fashion, like come and get me. And, white will be like, sure thing, I will do that. Okay, pawn to c3. Point of this move is it unties your dark squared bishop because now black cannot take on b2, winning your rook. It also stops his knight from jumping into d4. You got to remember, that is typically a good doubled pawn for black because he can target c2. Can also take with the bishop and have it be a check. So pawn c3, multi-purpose move, I would say. I mean, we could say it's a multi-purpose move, right? Knight a3, c2, e3. Nice routes for the knight. Okay, but he moves his bishop to e3. We get pawn to b6. Black is going for the fianchetto, and I quite like this bishop f2 move. What it does is, well, white wants to play g4 in these types of positions and then choose between e5, f5, or g5. But with the bishop on f2, g pawn is going to move first, so we can get a nice diagonal here for the bishop, that is. Okay, bishop to b7, knight bd2. Again, a flexible position being played, and he finally strikes with g4. You can see the bar went down a little bit. I'm going to have beef with the bar and disagree with it. The only move that should really deter you from playing g4 is if black can successfully play f5, if this is a testing move. This is not the case. To show you that it's not even remotely a testing move, let's just like waste a move, right? If they take on g4, it is not good for them because now you're aiming in at e6, you're going to recapture on g4, and life is going to be good. So f5 is not really going to be a thorn in white's side. So g4 does not, need a deterrence. Okay, rook to c7. It seems like black doesn't really know what he's doing. I mean, I don't want to disrespect, but white's position makes sense. Black's position, not so much is what I'm saying. Okay, bishop to h4, pinning the knight. We get queen to a8. He's like, I'm a GM, but pins are annoying. And we're like, yes, pins are very annoying, right? So queen to a8, getting on this long diagonal with this battery. Rook a to e1. Again, I don't know if it's because I play this position all the time that it looks so coordinated, but to me, or to you guys, what do you guys think about this? I mean, white's position just looks like checkmate. Black's position looks like, what are we doing here, guys? Knight to c8. That's just like another one of all the other moves. And here we get pawn to e5. Now you might be like, doesn't that open up this diagonal that black has? And that is true. But also look at this. It creates a route for your knight. So it's like a clearance move. It creates e4. It gives you e4 rather to route your pieces towards even further improvement. After e5, black declines and goes d5, but we still have a pawn here that's going to be a menace. In fact, he uses it right away and goes bishop to f6. Now, if we get bishop takes, pawn takes, you could just see that route that can aim to a quick checkmate or lead to a quick checkmate. Black declines that. He's like, I'm going to go bishop f8. Yes, this bishop is annoying, but you know, you're still going to need to win. So you're still going to need to be accurate. He goes f5, and this is a well-timed move. Because again, all of white's pieces are here on the king side alongside black's king. So he wants to rip open the position. Vice versa, there's nothing going on the queen side. I feel bad for all of these pieces, to be honest. We got b5. He's like, okay, I know it's a chess principle. When my opponent strikes on one end of the board, I strike on the other. But it's too little too late. Knight to g5. Beautiful move. Just to show you how bad black's position really is, if we got h6, you could even take on f7. And for example, if he takes with the rook, you would just take with the pawn. You have all the activity in the world. You're going to route up and over. If he takes with the king, I would argue it's even worse, right? You could go like check. I think you could even throw in this, and, you know, bad things are happening. There's mates all over the place. So he does not go h6. He goes knight b6. And now we take on h7. This is actually considered a brilliancy. So we are going to give it a boom. Oh, there it is. Oh, now we give it 2. All right, now we just messed up the screen. Whatever. King takes. There is officially, essentially, checkmate. You just got to use the h-file for the rest of the game. You sacked a knight to completely control the h-file. Now this bishop is pinned. The king cannot move because the queen will take and it'll be mate. So he frantically tries to go defend it. We exploit the pin. We're going to pick up the bishop. But there's no rush. Right? May as well rook lift up and over, right? Knight can't take because queen takes bishop, pawn takes, and then checkmate. So black's position is just absolutely frozen, absolutely paralyzed. We get rook e7. The point of this move is he has to get to f8 to provide some sort of defense. We get rook h4, queen f8. And now he takes the rook. There's, again, no rush. Pawn f6, an absolute clamp. None of these pieces can move. And then he slides his rook over. He's like, I'm not even going to give up my rook right away. I'm going to rook lift. Black resigned here, by the way. Why did black resign? Well, because in this position, you have mate. Because rook takes, knight takes. Again, do not take that. That would be tragic. Go rook to h4. And this position is just frozen. You're going to take the knight and then checkmate him. So a fair position to resign. Hopefully this is not the end we'll see of Aleksa Strikovic. He has a lot more chess in him. 7.5 out of 9 at an open tournament is crazy. And especially since he was the 7th seed. He wasn't even remotely the favorite. But we're going to go to positional chess now because I feel like this is going to be a long video. But we'll see. Okay. White to move. Who's better? Well, white is better. Why? Because this dark squared bishop is sad and this light squared bishop is not so sad. But there's only one move for advantage for white. So you have to think in terms of what would my opponent play if it were his move. If he was good, he would play bishop c3, cutting out your rook, and then semi-activating his pieces. So that's why you need to begin with rook to c4. This eliminates the possibility of bishop to c3 because we would then win this pawn over here on c5. So it freezes the bishop. Okay, now that we know the bishop is frozen, how do you try to force it to move to win this pawn? You might be thinking king f3, pawn e3, and if so, you are a genius. King f3, pawn e3, and the bishop moves. Now that the bishop is on c3, what in-between move could you throw in to kind of improve your position? Disregard the bar because it's a beautiful move, and you're going to see how this motif leads to the winning position. But in essence, he's like, okay, while this bishop is on c3, black cannot do en passant. So let me go pawn a4, not have a backwards pawn, not be deep freezed by this b pawn. And this is going to be very good for him, like in 10 moves, you'll see. It's going to be make winning a lot easier. Okay, king to e7. Now phase 2 should be get this rook out of here because it is trapped doing nothing. So we get bishop to d5. He wraps the rook over to the h-file and then improves his king. Centralization. All the pieces are doing a lot now. Okay, king f6, rook h5. Rook d7, pawn g4. Now he's trying to, strike h4, g5. We get pawn g6. The rook takes the pawn, pinning it to the king. We get king g5 getting out of the pin, gaining a tempo, attacking everything. Rook to h7, and now king takes g4. Here you got to be a little careful. F takes g6 looks good, but it's never too late to lose a chess game, right? Pawn to f5, checkmate. If you also waste a move, he'll also just checkmate you in one. So white plays a brilliant move here. He plays the move bishop to e6. What is the point of this move? As you could see, this is pinned. But is it? Because black takes. And actually, if you take the rook now, you get, again, mated in one move. So it's never too late to lose a chess game. So what do you do here? You take the pawn on g6. You create a passer, and if he takes, you take, you promote. These doubled pawns are a perfect example of poor structure because the bishop does not see the queening square. So black has to deny the rook trade. We get rook takes pawn, king g5 trying to snag the pawn. White does not allow it. And now black goes king g6. But we have an a pawn, so we start chucking that. He guards the promotion square with the king, but again, we just push the a pawn. Black goes rook to d6. Now we start chucking the h pawn, right? If we get this pawn to h6, black could never take because then we promote. It's one of those base of the pawn chain cannot get taken because then the head of the pawn chain will promote. So once we get this pawn to h6, this rook is unfrozen. We can then push the pawn happily. Okay, and that is exactly what happens. And in this position, black resigns because there's really nothing he could do. Like maybe he could stop the vision of the rook to the g pawn. But again, you're just going to push this pawn and black is going to need to sack the rook for the pawn. And this pawn could still never get taken. These pawns are far from going anywhere. So a cool positional puzzle. I want to throw one of these in either at the beginning or end. I don't know which is better. Maybe you could let me know. But yeah, I hope I brought chess news to you guys that you haven't heard. And again, the older generation took it today. So thank you guys as always for watching. Have a great day. Peace.